Welcome to a Halloween edition of the podcast. I'm your host, Shotgun Stevie Spencer. You know how it goes. Let's get it started.
Yeah. I've been on a deep dive through the outer waves. I took a rocket to the edges of my brain space. I told command that I just need a little getaway. Then buckled in and threw the throttle to a race pace. Vroom. Take me further, take me farther, daughter, please understand. I could not stand still any longer.
Welcome back to the Rush to the Barricade podcast for your Dynamite Debrief. I'm your host again, Shotgun Stevie Spencer. Another exciting week on Dynamite this week. A little note here, a little footnote for this episode, is this was actually pre-recorded on 10/22, so it wasn't a live taping. What was funny is there was no one there in the crowd, and throughout this episode there was actually crowd noise funneled in as well as crowd shots. Just a little observation that I noticed. First match of the night was Hangman Adam Page versus Wardlow for the semifinals in the World Title Eliminator Challenge. A couple of high spots and takeaways from this match were Hangman Adam Page doing the moonsault that we saw to the outside to Wardlow. Also, for the first time, one of the first times, we saw Wardlow actually taking flight off the top rope himself. And then also that beautiful reversal of the buckshot lariat in the middle of the match, followed by the superplex by Page off the top rope. And then the fact that even though Wardlow lost this match, because Hangman did two, not one but two, buckshot lariats to Wardlow. Even though he lost this match, it definitely still builds up him as a one of those bodybuilder types and one of those monster types that would definitely be up and coming in AEW. That would be exciting to see. Next, we're followed by the Moxley vignette. This is just another sound off. We see this throughout the show. We're probably going to see it the next Go Home show on November 4th. Just more back and forth between Moxley and Eddie Kingston, even though Moxley wasn't there in person. There was a couple takeaways in that vignette that I really liked, and that was that he wanted to give the title, he wanted to grow it and cultivate it in a more respected title, big platinum, just having more clout in the national sense of the game. And after that vignette, we see Eddie Kingston come out and cut a short promo back on Moxley, followed by his match with Matt Sydal. Going into it there, they were kind of harkening back on the Casino Battle Royale, closing that loop there as well. A couple takeaways and high spots in that match were the head scissors by Sydal, followed by the diving knee to Eddie Kingston, and then the headlock at the end where Eddie Kingston made Sydal say, "I quit," which kind of adds to this match more on Full Gear. Another little thing that was nuanced there, I don't have a shot of it, but if you notice, when he stands up, when Eddie Kingston stands up, he reaches in and pinches Sydal on the leg, and that's always been a telegraph that it's Eddie Kingston in the ring telling Sydal, "Good match." So it's always nice to see something like that, and very positive to see. Next thing of the night, we see FTR and the Bucks in a short interview with Excalibur. Also, the FTR there with Tully Blanchard, who isn't talking much. We see that Matt Jackson says that his leg is okay and he should be ready to perform at Full Gear, which is great. That gives us hope that we're actually going to see this match at Full Gear. FTR says they're more worried about their championships. That's the reason why they did it. And if the Bucks don't win, they're not going to be re-challenging for the titles, much like Cody Rhodes said he wouldn't be doing that for the World Heavyweight title. Next thing of the night, we see the Inner Circle's Town Hall meeting. Followed by questions from Luchasaurus, Britt Baker, Peter Avalon, and then lastly Eric Bischoff, who had a three-pronged question for MJF. And it was mainly, what can you do for them, what can they do for you, and what is the reassurance that you won't turn on them. And at the end, I think this went the way we all thought it was going to go, where Chris Jericho actually issued a challenge to MJF, and if he wins, he gets to join the Inner Circle. So we get to see that at Full Gear, so that card is quickly filling up and stacking up to be just an awesome card. Next thing we see tonight is the challenge from Ortiz saying that him and Sammy are going to go against MJF and Wardlow next week on the Go Home show of November 4th. Then we see a short vignette there from Team Taz to Will Hobbs issuing him a challenge to issuing him the invitation rather to join Team Taz. Next thing of the night we see is Orange Cassidy and the Best Friends versus Cody with the Nightmare Family coming out to the ring, of course. A couple high spots from that match were the superplex to the outside into the Lumberjacks. We kind of knew that was going to happen because that almost always happens with suicide dives and dives to the outside with a lot of people gathered around, especially when there's a brawl had broken out. One thing about this finish, though, that I noticed is it wasn't necessarily a clean finish in my book. The way it happened is Cody won by crossroads after Orange Cassidy got hit with a pump kick and got just completely slobber knocked by Arn Anderson on the outside of sucker punch. And then the all-out brawl ensued in the ring, and we all knew that was going to happen. But good thing for John Silver, though, is he actually gets a match next week as well against Orange Cassidy. Don't know if that's going to go anywhere or what's going to happen there, but I do hope it evolves into something more, because I do like John Silver. If you watch him from the BTE skits, he's definitely a likable character behind the camera. Well, I'd like to see him in front of the camera more often. Next up, we're going back to Miro and Kip Sabian. They're there with the best friends. They issue them a trick or treat, give them a treat, and then obviously they end up beating the crap out of them before their match coming up. One thing I didn't like about that was Penelope Ford was dressed as Orange Cassidy and just came into the frame, and you know. Next match of the night is Serena Deeb, who is the new NWA Women's Champion, against legit Layla Hirsch. Not much to tell about this story other than it was all out brawl. Serena wins by submission at the end and definitely has some good earmarks there for Layla possibly getting signed by AEW, according to some chatter on Twitter. Next up, we have a short interview by Hikaru Shida. She's issuing a challenge to Nyla Rose, who's the next contender. They're going to be going at it at Full Gear. I really like to see this match. However, I do think it's a little short. There's not much storyline behind it. I would like to see more. I'm hungering for more storylines in the women's division. Next match tonight, we see Shawn Spears versus VSK, which this is actually a rematch from Dark, where he had already beaten VSK previously. Pretty quick match there. Shawn Spears drops the C4 for the win, and then goes to the outside and messes with someone in the audience. They get pulled into the ring, and we come to find out it's Scorpio Sky. Scorpio enters the ring, does what he needs to do to Shawn Spears, and then we go into the next segment where we're announcing a couple more matches for next week. One I had mentioned before was Orange Cassidy versus John Silver. They're going to be going at it in the buy-in show. Also, Shawn Spears versus Scorpio Sky going to be happening on the Go Home show November 4th. And also the Gun Club and Cody versus the Dark Order. That's going to be a nice match to see there as well, because I'm a fan of Austin Gunn myself. So it would be nice to see him in action again. Last match of the night, the main event, is Penta L0M versus Kenny Omega. Of course, Penta comes out with Phoenix this time. No Eddie Kingston on commentary because he had a match earlier in the show. One thing to notice, a couple takeaways from this match, are Omega wearing the AAA championship in the ring, kind of like the old Back to the Future skit where he has the iron plate under his poncho. It was definitely nice to see that, because I was wondering why he was wrestling in a shirt. Kenny Omega almost always takes his shirt off, and then to see the title under his shirt was definitely pretty nice to see. Another high point for me in that one was actually JR mentioning Okada. So there's just more and more lines being cast across the pond by AEW to New Japan Pro Wrestling, and I hope that definitely becomes a partnership, because it already seems to be with NWA. Also, a couple high points were Penta's Destroyer on the ramp, followed by a small package driver on Kenny Omega. This is the point where I thought if he got him in the ring, he's got it. 1, 2, 3, no problems. But instead, we see Kenny Omega come back with his, what I call the 2 moves of doom. It's V-Trigger followed by the 1-Winged Angel for the 1, 2, 3. So now going into Full Gear, we're going to be having Kenny Omega versus Hangman Adam Page at Full Gear. The match we all wanted to see in the first place. It's definitely one of those things where they went through a lot of people to get to where they are in this storyline. I think it's something they could have just put together next week and everybody would have been happy with it. But I'm still happy. But we're arriving at the point that we all wanted to be at, and that is to see the matches that are on this card. The real question is where we're going to go after this. So we'll see. We'll see how the Go Home show works out, and then the next debrief, and then we'll also get around to breaking down the pay-per-view Full Gear. And we'll have a nice little special debrief for you there. Well, that's all I've got for today. I hope you guys enjoyed the show, and thank you for tuning in. Another little thing I'd like to get started here going forward on my videos is hashtag positivity2020. I'm partnered with a friend of mine, Jay's Toy and More, another YouTube channel. So if you could get that started, we're going to be trying our best to spread positivity throughout the community and through our respective channels. And it's just something we want to get started and see more in everybody's life and everybody's day, especially during this trying time. So if you'll do that for me, if you'll also smack that like button just so I can get some more looks, some more views on the YouTube algorithm, I would definitely appreciate it. And thanks for tuning in. Thanks for your support. Have a good day.
Whoo! Yeah, I'm up to no good. Big wheel, tire squeal rolling through my hood. With my popsicle melting down the side of my hand. My lemonade stands making money, that's the goddamn plan. 5 years old and damn right I swear. My parents wash it out my mouth with some soap